Hello and welcome to She the People's Women's Writers Fest, powered by Colors. This is our third edition of the festival this year. And as promised, we bring you a day full of engaging conversations. For this panel, we have with us Anjali Kripalani, who is the bestseller author of 19 Till I Die, Written in the Stars, and Never Say Never. Her latest novel, Tinseltown Affair, has just been launched. She has been an RJ, editor, and scripted several successful radio dramas. We also have with us Aisha Chanoy, currently CEO and founder of one of India's largest independent digital advertising agencies, Rep India. I here welcome Anjali and Aisha, to our panel on Feisty female characters in contemporary fiction. So
Thanks, Trisha.
I'm going on with Anjali. Your protagonist, in Tinseltown Affair, Meghna moves from Chandigarh to Mumbai to become an actor, right? So, can you tell us what inspired you to create this character?
Yeah. I actually used to live in South Africa and I kind of moved to India to pursue a career in the media. And I always wanted to be a TV anchor, which I did do. But at that point, when I was kind of, I just moved to Bombay, didn't really know which direction to go in. There were a few people who told me, in India, it's not like how you have Ryan Seacrest in the US and you have people only specializing in anchoring. So if that's what you want to do, you should also look at acting. And so I actually went to these auditions, and sometimes I'd be like in a room full of people trying to, do like an audition for a Saas Bahu serial and just be like, what am I actually doing here? So that I think it's those experiences that actually inspired this because I realized there's so many young people that literally come to Mumbai every single day, and this is from all across India, even out of India actually. And everyone's got those dreams in their eyes, and of course we all know about this. We've seen these stories, but I wanted to take this like light-hearted approach, not this painful, like sad story about struggle, or like a very unrealistic story as well, where like someone just comes and they discovered, in randomly in a coffee shop. Because as much as everyone would like that, it doesn't happen that way, often. So I wanted it to be about this girl's journey, and it's uniquely her journey because she goes through a bunch of things. She takes part in a reality show. She just doesn't know which way to go, so she experiments and she does a whole lot of things. And I just wanted it to be this uniquely Mumbai experience for someone who comes from outside of the city. Yeah.
Okay. Um, Maybe I'll ask Aisha this one, both of you. So starting with Aisha, since you've read this novel, which of Meghna's qualities do you like the most?
So I would say I think that her grit and perseverance stands out for me, to be honest, because a lot of the book is about her failures, and I think a lot of the insecurities that everybody feels in their lives. But I think it's a lot of people give up, and for her, there's a clear voice where she's talking about her failures, her need for validation, her jealousies, but she strives through all of it, with a better kind of Hindi film ending, I would say. So I like that about her.
Okay, and Anjali, what do you?
Yeah, I think it's the same for me actually. It's a resilience, and it's because it's exactly that. I mean, that's usually what happens when there's people come to Mumbai, and when reality kicks in and you're going through these really difficult times. You question yourself and your skills. It's very easy to actually just give up and just be like, you know what, this isn't meant for me, and I'm leaving. And she does have her moments of doubt, but then it's about picking herself up and trying again. So it's like, okay, if this didn't work out, now I'll try something else. And I think that is also one of my favorite qualities. And also the fact that she's not this perfect, goody two shoes. She has her shades of gray, which is how all of us are, right? So her friend ends up getting this role that she went to audition for, and it's a very natural feeling that you will feel envious. I mean, it is one of your best friends, but they've now got this opportunity that you really wanted. So her reaction to all of that is very real, I would say, and I think that's what I like as well. I mean, that is why I kind of instill those characteristics in her.
Right. Okay. So if we're talking about like feisty, dynamic women protagonists, Aisha, would you like to tell us the most interesting women characters that you have come across in recent films or literature?
So I think number one something recent is Industry. I don't know if any of you've seen it, but there's a lot of strong, very complicated characters in it. It's very reminiscent of my own old past life as an investment banker in London. Not as colorful, thank God, but definitely that. And of course, in terms of books, there's a ton. I mean, I think, a lot of authors who are female authors, like Isabel Allende, who's a famous Latin American author, she's got very powerful female protagonists in all her books, from Eva Luna to Paula, who was her daughter who passed away when she was very young, to herself and her biography. So she always stands out for me. Of course, Sally Rooney, again, normal people. There are a lot of female characters emerging. And of course, Tinseltown Affair, where, there's a domination of female characters. So I mean, there's countless numbers, right? But not enough.
Okay. Anjali, what do you think like the kind of female protagonist that you would like to see in films and books? Something
Yeah.
that hasn't been represented. Yeah.
Sure. I mean, I think obviously this has changed a lot, right? In recent times, we're seeing really powerful female characters, whether it is, Deepika Padukone in Gehraiya, for example, or DCP Vartika in Delhi Crime. I think these are those really interesting characters because, they are, I mean, when you look at Deepika, it's about her vulnerability and, her shades of gray. She's not doing the right thing, but then you understand where it's coming from because there's this past trauma. So there's so much history and there's so much nuance in that character. And um, and then, of course, when you look at DCP Vartika's character, which is, Shifali Shah has done a great job in Delhi Crime. She's this woman in a leadership role, and she's all of that. She's like, she's gritty and all of that, but then she has her little sensitive side, but then she can't even dwell on that too long because there's crimes to be solved. So I think you're seeing a lot of interesting characters when you look at film OTT. And then, of course, when it comes to yeah, so I think that is, and those are, I want to see more of those characters where, there is a lot more to women than just being either like eye candy, or, there are so many layers in real life. When you meet women, there are just so many layers to everyone that, it's about time we started seeing that on screen as well as in books. And I think we are, but we need a lot more of that. Yeah.
Okay. So in the book, Meghna leaves her corporate job to follow her dream to be an actor. So can you both tell us about similar risks that you've taken in your lives, or what drove you to take that risk? So if Aisha could maybe start.
So I was an investment banker in London, managing a $3 billion fund, and then madness struck me, and I quit and came back to India, set up a few failed businesses, and then set up this advertising agency. And while it's kind of 300 people, and we work with Canon and Suzuki and the top conglomerates all over India, I think that I still think that there's an element of youth and exuberant optimism that makes you do these things, and a bit of madness. But then I think you balance passion. I always wanted to write, so in the middle, I mean, that's how Anjali and I became friends. I wrote a book a year and a half ago called "To the Bravest Person I Know" by Penguin, which then was a bestseller on mental health initially, but then got washed out because of COVID. And the realization is that I think you go after what you want, but then life comes in the way very often. So there's a lot of luck. There's a lot of hope that you have to hold on to despite that luck. And I think that there has to be some madness um, for you to really fully follow your dream.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I'd have
talking
to.
about
Yeah,
magic, yeah.
yeah, I'd have to echo Aisha there. So, not exactly the same journey, obviously, but, I as well, I was in a corporate job. I was selected to be this management trainee, and it was, it would have led me down a very different path, but I just wasn't, my heart wasn't in it. And so I'd spoken to my parents and said, you know what, I really want to move back to India, and I kind of want to pursue a career in the media because that is really what I want to do. And I remember them being like, initially a bit disappointed, and being like, are you sure? And this is a big gamble, and that is a much easier path to take. But as Aisha says, there are these calls that come sometimes that you have to, it's like your gut telling you to do something. And not that it's been a very smooth journey, like there again, there have been times when I'm like, did I really take the right decision at that time? But then I think everyone's journey is their own, and you've got to come and you've got to make those mistakes, and you have to take those risks, because otherwise, it's life. It's just too. If you don't get out of your comfort zone, then I mean, there's nothing worth exploring beyond that. So I think life begins when you get out of your comfort zone, and I think it's important to do that. So yeah. And yeah, the more risks you take, all of life is a risk. The more risks, the better. Or all of life is an experiment. The more experiments, the better, as Emerson said. That's always been my motto.
Okay. So I'll go to Aisha. So you're a poet, author, and also a CEO. So how do you juggle your multiple roles?
It's hard. I was going to say something very un-PC, and then I thought I better not. But I think that some days you fail because I've also got two children, and a very active school life. And you know how schools can be these days. There's a lot of parenting involved in educate, really educating your kids, and a lot of outside of education, they're extracurricular, blah blah blah. So I think sometimes you feel like something or the other is failing. You're failing at something or the other. So you're failing at not showing up exactly on time, or forgetting there's a play date. Sometimes you're failing at having, not burnt the midnight oil on a pitch because you were just so tired because you've taken your kids to a football match early in the morning. Sometimes you're failing in terms of not showing up to a art exhibition that your friends are having because you're taking care of your parents who are sick. So I think that life gets very complicated, and I'd written something, I think, when I was very stressed out, which is, I think balance is not about leaving; it's about coming back. Um, and that's how I feel. So that's basically just, you pray at night, then you'll make it through one more day, and then you just do.
Yeah, this is, I think, relatable for a lot of women. Anjali, you're an author, and in addition to your day job, so you also might have a similar story to tell.
Yeah,
So,
I think today, in today's day and age, this is pretty much every woman's story. So like Aisha, I am a mom as well. I don't have two, so I think for obviously like when you have one more child, that's more on your plate, obviously. But yes, so exactly as Aisha said, I think some days you're not able to perhaps give your best to each role, but then you wake up the next morning and you try again. And I think it's I've this just reminds me of another sort of quote that Jen Richards had said, that on screen and film I rarely see, and I'm paraphrasing, but I rarely see men as wonderful in real life as I see on screen, and I rarely see women as wonderful on screen as I see in real life. And I think that's so true, because every woman that you meet is kind of handling so much, right? And all these roles that they fulfill. And exactly, and as you get older, it's your parents and their health, and that you're managing, and that, and then you've got your kids, and then you've got your relationships with friends as well as in-laws, family, all of that, and then work, and pursuing your dreams. So I think it's pretty much the story of every woman today. But you know what, we can do it, and we will. And yeah, it's about just sort of cutting yourself a bit of slack as well, and realizing that you can't be this superwoman at all times. You're allowed to sort of have your off days. You're allowed to kind of take a break. You're allowed to yeah, if something's not working out, even work wise, just kind of give it a rest and go back to it another day, kind of a thing. So yeah, I think we owe that to ourselves and our mental health, actually. So yeah, I think that's my take on it.
Okay. So it is to both of you that, like, what advice would you like to give to young women creators today? So if maybe Aisha can start.
I try and give that advice quite often at work. I don't know how many people listen, but I think that most of it is the more you do, the more you do. I really live by that. I think that everybody's going to say, listen, you got to keep hope, be hopeful, you never give up, etc. But I also think it's about also figuring out where your passion and your talent lie, both together. Because I also think that some people go after something that they perhaps are not particularly great at. At which stage, I think it's better to do something that you shine in. That's my own personal philosophy. And like I said, you just got to go for it hard. There's no substitute for hard work.
And Anjali.
Yeah, I mean, that's of course, that is a very valuable and very true sort of thing that Aisha said. So hard work, yes. But I also think it's never too late to go after your dreams. I think that is something I'd want to sort of tell all women creators, because I think we've gotten so obsessed with age as as a society, where you've got your lists of 20 under 20 and 30 under 30 and all of that. But you know what? If you're 55 and you decide that you want to be a writer, you can. I mean, there's really no one stopping you. You're the one stopping yourself, right? So our limits only exist in our minds, and it's really never too late. So if you want to become content creator, if you're looking at becoming sort of an entrepreneur, or if you're looking at writing, whatever it is, I mean, it really is never too late to start. It's just about kind of making up your mind and then putting in the hard work. Of course, it's not just that
Yeah, I
you
mean,
will.
I love that. I love
Yeah,
that because J.K. Rowling, you
yeah,
know,
exactly.
Nika, all
Yeah.
started much later. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think that and while it's great for the young achievers and people who are really doing a lot when they're so young, but everyone doesn't necessarily have to have that journey. It doesn't happen like that for everyone, right? So, and it's also okay to take some time to kind of figure out what it is that you are good at. So I think failure is a very important part actually of success, and which people don't generally like talking too much about. I mean, even if even when I come back to the book where Meghna wants to be this actress, and very often when you look at actors and you hear their interviews, they'll talk about how, oh, it was fairly easy for me. I was just spotted, and like, but it's not. I mean, not everyone wants to talk about, but I had like 50 failed auditions, and I was really terrible, and then I kind of worked at my craft, and then I got discovered, or so yeah, I think it's just important to make those mistakes and to it's fine, it's okay. And everyone's journey is different. So while everyone wants that straight journey, sometimes it's all squiggly wiggly and it's like all over the place. But eventually, you probably get further ahead than if you'd have just followed a straight linear path. So
Right.
yeah,
Thank you so much for joining in the panel, and it was lovely talking to both of you. And thank
it's
Thank
you,
been lovely
Ella.
you.
speaking to you, Trisha.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank
Bye.
you.